Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you from home and hopefully somewhere very comfortable to our new QEH first virtual presentation. So we would be very grateful at some point to get some feedback from you. Just a couple of housekeeping rules, if that's okay. Your microphones won't work during this presentation. So at the moment, you will be able to hopefully hear what we are saying. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A, which there should be at the top of your screens. There should be a little button that says Q&A, and you can post your questions down the side, and we will pick them up later. If there is anything you want as a result of this, then we'll make sure that there is a contact at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy what we're going to offer. So I'm absolutely delighted this evening to be joined across the organisation, I have to say, by Nicola Hunter, Paul Brooks and Peter Cox. All four of us will give you a very brief resume using a couple of slides, and then hopefully there will be an opportunity for Laura Stafford-Allen to ask us some questions on your behalf. So we would look forward to talking to you a little bit about our new QEH. So hopefully on the next slide, we'll give you a bit of a brief as to what we're going to be discussing. It'll be about half an hour this evening and then question time. So first of all, we're going to talk about our estate, our current estate, what we're doing, and that feels really important because we are still working here and we are still delivering care on the current QEH. Then we're going to talk, Nicola will talk a little bit about our reinforced autoclaver rated concrete, which I lovingly call RAC, and Nicola lovingly works with on a daily basis. So we will talk to you a little bit about what we're doing across the site. Paul Brooks will then talk about our new QEH, and again, he'll be able to give you some more information. Followed by Peter, who too will be able to talk to you a little bit more about the process and the procedures that we're going through as we speak. Thank you. So our estate, this is about a once in a lifetime opportunity to come to QEH, to come to King's Lynn, a new QEH, and we're absolutely delighted to think about how we work in the current system. So on the next slide, you'll see a little bit about the types of things that we're currently doing. So we're working across the system at the moment. We're thinking about digital transformation, and particularly at the moment, it's around electronic patient records, which are coming to the Norfolk and Waveney hospitals. So across Norfolk and Waveney, you've got James Paget, you've got ourselves, and you've got the Norfolk and Norwich. And the three organisations are going to have one electronic patient record. So for anyone that has received healthcare and been into hospital, and you've got a beautiful picture sitting in front of you of a set of paper records, those will go, and we will start to use digital technology. It will mean that if you are going to another organisation across Norfolk, we will have the same set of records, and we can absolutely transfer your care up into the cloud, which will be very safe, and then down to the other organisation. Equally, you may not have to move, but your records can be quickly and easily accessed by a specialist. Now, for some of you, you may also have been to Cambridge, to Peterborough, or to other organisations, perhaps down in London. And again, I think we are one of the only systems who has no electronic patient record. So for many organisations, they've been using these for a number of years, and it will mean that we can transfer through onto another system the essential elements of your care. What it really, really means is you should only have to tell your story once, which I know for many of you, it becomes, I've already told somebody this, I've already said this. So that's the intention, is that we can get speedier care to you. We're also working across the Norfolk system with both our acute colleagues, so Norfolk and Norwich, James Paget, but also our community colleagues and the council, to really think about how we work with different organisations to deliver care to our local population. That's really, really important to us. And most importantly, we know healthcare is changing, healthcare is constant change, and we know that if I look at my own journey through NHS years, you used to come into hospital many years ago, you'd have a hip replacement and it would take 2 weeks. We have now done at QE a same day hip replacement. So fantastically, that some of the technology that we're using, the robot that we have just recruited, he is still in his boxes and he does need an operator, so there will still be a surgeon at the end. We don't let a robot loose on you on your own. But that changes and transforms the way that we deliver care, and that's really important in your journey and certainly in the way that you can recover. And all of that leads us to our new QEH opening in 2030. But before we get to that point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Nicola, who's going to tell you a little bit about the rack work that we've currently got going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice, and good evening, everyone. I'm Nicola Hunter, Deputy Director of Estates and Facilities and lead for our rack programme, which is supporting the roof at the QEH. The slide that you're being shown now is actually one of our ward areas, and is unfortunately something that our patients see on a daily basis. And those planks are of wood and steel are supporting the panels on the roof. Next slide, please, Ross. Thank you. So we have 79% of our roof contains these rack panels, and for those of you that don't know them, it's a concrete, and the best way to describe them, they look very much like an aero bar inside, which weakens the structure, and alongside deteriorating steels within the concrete is where we have the concern around the strength of them as they get older. So we are in year 4 of our current rack programme, which is to place a steel framework under the main roof panels to support them. And then we're also doing work with our walls to support the structures that they are made of, because some of the walls are structurally they structurally support the main hospital. So we're into the 4th year. We've got just over 60% our way through the hospital. It requires us to go into an area and completely take it down into a building site. So we created 2 wards as a decant facility. So we're actually decanting every ward on the 1st floor. Takes about 3 months to complete this work. And so it's very disruptive for our clinical staff as well as our patients and visitors to the organisation. It's not something that we really want to be doing, but it's something that we have to be able to support the roof and maintain it until 2030. We have teams of surveyors on site that are reviewing any condition changes to our panels to ensure that we keep the place as safe as we can and not want anyone to feel that it's not safe to come within this hospital. As we move around as part of the programme for the rack, we've created some additional buildings and ensured that we liaise with our new hospital team and make sure that everything we do currently fits into the new hospital programme and the new footprint for the new hospital. So some people are saying that they've noticed how much money we're spending on site, but there's lots of buildings that we will maintain as our new site going forward. I'm going to hand on now to Paul Briggs, who will talk you through some of the areas that we have created through the RAC programme and been working on the last 4 years.
Thank you, Nicola, and welcome everybody. I want to take the opportunity to thank you for tuning in with us tonight, because it's really important that we get to talk you through where we are now and where we're going in the future, but also be able to take some questions from you, because there are those little nuggets of information that really help us in the transformation that we're trying to lead on. We can't stand still as a hospital. We know that the new hospital won't be available to us till 2030. We want to maintain the quality and standards of healthcare that we've got now and try and improve them all the time while we're moving forward over those next few years, but also taking the opportunity to develop our service and the people that deliver our services through some of the buildings that we've now put in place and some of the plans we've got for the future. Next slide, please, Ross. Thank you. We've picked 4 schemes to talk you through tonight around why they're so important to us now, why they're so important in the intervening years between now when the new hospital goes live, but also the future of those sites and what we'll have learned from them. The Community Diagnostic Centre is the latest building to be opened on site, and if you've been to the QEH site, you will have seen it in development for just over a year now, right at the front of the hospital. This has brought to us some additional scan capacity for our outpatients. But what it's really brought to us is a modern state-of-the-art healthcare building with the latest technology encased inside it. So we've got MRI scanners, CT scanners, plain film x-rays. But all the equipment that we've got in there is newest equipment. And what we're able to do is bring staff, train them on this new equipment and work out the ways that this new equipment interacts with the rest of our clinicians across the hospital. As Alice mentioned earlier, the digital influences the new hospital will bring need to be brought into the organisation as soon as we possibly can, because that what we'll do then is we'll train people in new ways of working. The diagnostic centre, when you enter it, feels like a completely different place to the hospital that you walk into when you walk to the QE, and that's because it's built under the latest designs available. What it sets for us is a small blueprint of what the new hospital would look like as we move forward, and the really important way that technology will play its part in the healthcare delivery of the future. The discharge lounge is the second one that we wanted to put up tonight, so we could talk you through why we're making those changes. At any given time in the acute beds that we have here, we will have people that don't need acute care anymore, that can actually be ready for discharge and ready on their onward journey, either home or into another health facility. What we found was that at a given time, our patients within those ward areas that were ready to go home were being kept in an acute bed. And then that does 2 things. One, it stops other people coming into the ward that might need an acute bed, but it's not the best place for them. It can be uncomfortable. You can have your belongings around you. What we wanted to do was try and create a space where patients could go, be ready. We could talk them through their next stage of their care, how their drugs will be delivered to them, what to do with those drugs, and any other information they need on that onward journey. The discharge lounge has been designed using a new specification from the new hospital. So the space is bigger, it's modern, the lighting levels are different, the types of services we've got around the whole building are different. Again, we're using something really practically, because what's happening in there is the staff that are working in there are getting to take an experience of what it will be like to work in a healthcare facility going forward, whilst delivering what we believe will be better care for the patients during their patient journey at the moment. The third project that we've got on here is our resuscitation area, and I really hope that nobody on this call tonight has ever been in one or needs to come to one in the future. So if you come through our A&E department, the resuscitation area is where the most critical care is delivered to you at the most important times during that phase of your care. We had a resuscitation area that was tired. We got great clinicians in there and we got good equipment, but the space that we got was not satisfactory to deliver the care we know that we need to do. As I say, it was a cramped environment. Every cubicle was only parted by curtains, so there was no privacy, there was no dignity within there. What we wanted to do is to make that change. Now, what's really difficult is the area that we chose to make that change is right in the heart of our A&E department. And as you know, we can't close the A&E department. We have to keep that running. So we had to develop methods of building that new facility in the middle of a live building. What we did is we took all the lessons that we've learned from Nicola and her team. We've been doing this for 3 years now. This is our 4th year of doing the RAT work. And what we learned there was that actually we can deliver large-scale alterations. And some of those are really in-depth, structural and mechanical and ventilation alterations in a live hospital. We needed to do that within the resuscitation area. What it's delivered for us is a state-of-the-art facility. We knew we had great clinicians, we knew we had the equipment for it, and now we've got the space to provide the care. Each room is individualised, it has its own environmental controls. As I say, the lighting levels are in there, but what we've also got is space for relatives and space for our staff to make sure that they'll be able to come in and out of the room and deliver the right care. But the relatives have got somewhere to go to reflect, find their time to be there for their loved ones when they need to be, but also give the clinicians space to work. It's a modern way of delivering healthcare. And again, I say, unfortunately, I hope you never have to go in there. But actually what people see in there is what a new modern hospital will look like. Again, we're developing the grounds for the new hospital now so that staff will understand what it's like to work in that facility. And then we come on to the last project that we've built on site, and that's the Peddersway unit. This unit is dedicated to help make the care of patients that are going through the last hours of their life as comfortable as they can be. This doesn't replace a hospice. In fact, actually, the hospices around the Norfolk area has helped us design this unit to make sure we get it right. We took a lot of time working with patients, relatives, people that had seen that pathway, professionals that have worked in that environment for a long time. We use local artists, we use other members of staff from around the organisation to get the environment right. At any given time, somebody could be reaching that end of life pathway on our wards at the moment. And we know the environment, because we don't have many single rooms, is not the right place. We could be going through this experience on a 6-bed ward with 5 other patients within the area, simply with a curtain pulled around. We know that's not the best possible way of delivering care at such an important part of somebody's pathway. The Peddersway unit is a fantastic unit. On there, we have 5 dedicated bed areas that patients can come to during those last moments of their life, and where we can deliver really great care. But we can also wrap our arms around the people that are going through that experience. There's facilities for patients, relatives to stay with them overnight. They're all en suite, they're light, and through that, we know that we can deliver much better care. It becomes, all of these projects gives a template for the new hospital as we move forward, as they're designed in the way we would expect it to be. And that's my link to hand you over to Peter now, who will talk to you about the next stage of the new hospital project.
Thank you very much, Paul, and hello everybody. My name is Peter Cox, and I have probably one of the best jobs in the hospital. I lead a fantastic team that is there to turn the aspirations of both staff and patients into reality as we develop the new QEH. Now, you can probably see from that previous slide that the new QEH is a major development. It's probably the biggest investment that the public sector have made in King's Lynn for generations. But with that, and being part of a major programme, comes a very significant scrutiny in ensuring that the public money is well spent. And part of that process is for us to go through a number of business cases. Now, you would have seen in local press, and that's up on the slide at the moment, on the 9th of October, our trust board approved the first of those business cases, which was the strategic outline case. Now, what the strategic outline case does, it sets that context of why we need a new hospital. So, as you've heard from Paul and Nicola, we have RAC, and therefore we have to replace the existing hospital, and by 2030. So along with that, we have to develop how we believe we're going to achieve that new hospital. So we go through an options appraisal, which is basically taking up to 10, I think we had 5 external and 5 off-site and 5 on-site options through an appraisal process, which evaluates under certain criteria, 2 of which, the criteria being whether the investment appraisal, the investment objectives, as well as the critical success factors, and working out which is the best option. Now, in terms of those investment objectives, I'm talking about obviously replacing RAC. We need to have a net carbon zero hospital. It needs to meet current space requirements, as well as being a safe area for treating patients, and also an environment that's conducive to improving staff welfare and retaining and recruitment of our staff. In terms of those critical success factors, they're around affordability, deliverability, strategic fit. And we have undertaken this process through a collaborative approach with both internal and external groups. And this drives to a preferred way forward, which is what the strategic outline case expresses. Next slide, please. So our preferred way forward, as you can see from this this slide, and you probably saw if you were here for the initial video, is to rebuild the new hospital on our car park. And that's the light blue at the top of the screen by the wind turbine. There we go. Look, see? Oof. Thank you. To enable us to do that, we have two enabling pieces of work, which is to relocate the existing helipad, and that's going on the other side of the roundabout. And we're about to complete stage 1 of that, and we're just working with the air ambulance and the charity help to look at the best solution for stage 2. And then that enables us to commence construction of our multi-storey car park, which is in the blue. And if that little things are whizzing around again, thank you very much. As you can see from this, the orange area to the left-hand side is our current RAC hospital. And following the relocation into the new building, we will be demolishing this. In addition, we will be retaining the community diagnostic centre and the endoscopy suite, which are fairly new. As if you've been on site, you can see those on the front entrance. And we're looking at the moment at the options of the other part of that purple site, because eventually they will pass their sell-by date, for want of a better phrase, and we're looking at the best way that we can utilise the site. We're also talking to a number of organisations around the development site, or the development opportunities there will be when we demolish the old building, but it is being retained by the NHS, by us, the trust, and we were looking for whether it's suitable for step-down facilities, extra care, key worker accommodation, or leisure. So it will be there for the betterment of the community. Next slide, please. So this is just a bit about the programme that we're on at the moment. As I said before, the strategic outline case has now been approved by our board, and now we'll go through various stages to eventually receive ministerial sign-off. That's expected sometime in the early next year. That hasn't stopped us developing the next phase of the process, or the next business case, and that's the design phase. It's that outline business case, where we work with clinicians and managers in the trust. We work with patient groups to design what we think is the best way to provide care from that new building. Those business case, that's another business case we need to submit again through similar approval processes for ministerial sign-off. And at that time, around July next year, we'll be starting the full business case, which is that final business case, where I kind of always say that this is where we work out how many nuts and bolts we need, because we need it costing. So at the end of that, the blue stage, we will have our full business case fully costed, and we will have our contractor, who's going to build it for us, on board, ready to start building when that's approved. We need to be in the ground at the end of July 2026, so that we've finished construction about 4 years later, and that will give us around 6 months to commission the new building and being able to move staff in and patients as well. During that latter stage of the process, or the midway through the end of the design phase, we will be going for full planning. We don't need to go for outline planning, because we are actually building on the current hospital site. So that will take us through to enable us to do some early works around setting up site compounds and any other works that we might do that can accelerate the construction programme. Next slide, please. I mentioned around the engagement that we've done with regards to the internal departments. So we've undertaken 155 workshops over the last 5 months, around 31 departments, and they produce for us the operational design policies. So with that and the standard designs that we're getting from the centre, from the NHS, gives us a design brief that we've now given to our architects, who we've just brought on board. I'll talk about that in the next slide. This does include a lot of patient and family engagement, and all of that rich material will go to the designers, who will then start producing the plans that we need for our new hospital. We will then be coming back out to the groups to work through those to ensure that they are fit for purpose and they deliver what we really want in terms of a new hospital. As I said, our planning application will be going in mid-2025, And prior to that, we'll be coming out again with those plans, hopefully within 3Ds and some virtual realities to the public for a public consultation. So, as I said before, I have the great job of working with an internal team of specialists that Paul and I have been able to put together over the last 12 months, and they come to us with experience over different aspects of what we need to do to develop and build a new hospital. We've also appointed our design team, which we have some international renowned architects, structural engineers, mechanical electrical engineers as well, and coupled with some more local experience. For instance, we have Bidwell's from doing our planning advice. We will be able to build exactly what we need as a new QEH. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I'm going to pass you over to Laura now. So Laura's going to do the Q&A. Please note that at the top of the your screen, you will see a Q&A icon, and please use that if you've got any questions for any of us. Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Peter. So we've got a few questions coming in. Thank you everyone for popping those in there. As Peter said, there's the Q&A button right at the top of the screen. Feel free to pop your questions in there and we can put them to our panel. So we have the first one here. I'll just read it out whilst my colleague is popping everyone on the screen. So regarding digital transformation, so Alice, I think this will be one for you. A few years ago, there was something you could sign as a patient to say whether you wanted to consent to sharing information. Has that changed, and how has that changed?
So no, it hasn't. The consent that you signed was around sharing it with what we would call other organisations, so maybe with social care, maybe with other providers. What we're talking about with the electronic patient record is around your care and treatment. And so for a patient, you don't need consent to record information about your care and treatment, and we would discuss that we were sending it to someone else, but it will be in order to deliver care to you within an NHS hospital. The consent bits were around if we were asking somebody from social care perhaps to come in and support you with some care at home, and that was what the original thing related to. So hopefully that answers your query.
Thank you, Alice. We've got one about the new discharge lounge now. So the discharge lounge is great, but often there can be long delays going home. Will you offer patients somewhere they can sit comfortably and services to keep them comfortable, so food and drink, so they can have a rest? Yeah.
So I'm sure Paul would also jump in on this one as well. I'll give it a go as I've got the microphone. Absolutely. So our new discharge lounge has a seated area, but it also has an area where you can take beds, so that if somebody is ready to be discharged and doesn't want to stay on a ward, we can take them down. They can receive full personal care. There are meals that come round, drinks, there's a television. It is a really, really lovely, great area, and there is direct access, as Paul said earlier, to the outside world. So if you've got a relative coming to collect you and you can't get there until after lunch, you can go down there before lunch, have your lunch, cup of tea, and then your relative can pick you straight up from there. But absolutely full care can be given, and the nursing staff, there is always a registered nurse, and there are healthcare support workers, so we can provide medication as well.
Lovely, thank you. Now, another question which has got two parts to it, so I'll take the first part first. I thought the hospital was moving to electronic records shared across the NHS years ago. There was government funding for this.
I can't comment on years ago. I know that the NHS has moved in time, so everyone's done it slightly differently. The funding we are using for the electronic patient records now is government funding. It's coming through the digital fund. So it is absolutely funded centrally into the Norfolk system. But I know there was a discussion 25 years ago when the Norfolk and Norwich was built about them going onto electronic records, and we've just finally achieved it, or we will have done in March 26.
Thank you. And the next one is asking about scans. So also, why are scan reports from doctors posted to doctor surgeries and not emailed? It's then suggesting that there is risk to that getting lost, and obviously the additional cost of sending a letter.
Yeah. And again, that's all part of some of the transformation work we're currently doing. Doctors' surgeries are all on slightly different systems, and so we need to make sure all the systems work together. And some areas do take electronic transfer letters, but not everywhere. So that will be part of the project and programme as we move forward, and hopefully we will be as near paperless as we can be in the next couple of years. But really good point. Really good.
Lovely, thank you. One about Peddars Way unit. How many rooms will be available in the Peddars Way unit, and what priorities are given to these patients? Are all staff trained to know how to access this on the weekend?
Yeah. Do you want to pick that up, Paul, or do you want me to?
No, I don't mind at all, Alice. So we have 5 bedrooms on the Peddars Way unit. They're going to be staffed by end-of-life specialists. What's really great is that we know we will, as we go through this, train staff as well on those types of level of care. And this gives us a great opportunity to train those staff. It's a really great facility, but it will be operated by people that have that expertise in helping and maintaining the care during those last hours of life.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. I'll stick with you now as we're moving on to car parking. Often lots of questions about car parking at these sorts of events. So one of the drawings shows what looks like a multi-storey car park, which obviously Peter covered in his presentation. Often car parking is a nightmare to access. What provisions will there be for staff and patients and visitors to get to appointments? Will there be provision to make sure that patients get car parking space, and also for our visitors?
So yeah, great question. One that's come up a lot, Laura, as you can imagine. I think lots of hospitals experience difficulty with car parking for patients and staff. We are trying to future-proof the car park as we move forward. You're quite right, it's a multi-storey car park. It won't be the only car parking available on site as we develop the site and go around, but it's difficult to show you until we get into that final design. There will be other ground level car parks around the site. We are governed about how many car parking spaces we're allowed on site through the road networks that lead to it, and also our net zero carbon targets that have been set against NHS. We have to think about healthcare and how healthcare will be delivered in 2030 as well. Will those stays on site be as long as Alice spoke about earlier? You know, we're cutting down length of stay in hospital, but we're also cutting down time of treatment when people come for outpatient treatments as well. So we have to be more agile in the way we manage the car parking on site. One of the things that we will be doing as we move towards the new development is looking at other forms of transport to get on site as well, because car can't be the only access of the future going forward. So 2030 is the landmark that we're aiming for. That's where we've sized the car park to be at that point in time, taking lots of national data, as we have the rest of the hospital and the way that works. Is it as much as we're going to need? We believe it is at the moment, and I'm saying that because I think if we put millions of car parking spaces, people would come and fill them. What we've got to do is take the sensible route to make sure we hit the net zero carbon targets as well. Our aim is to be as adaptable and as friendly from a car parking point of view as we can be in the future.
Lovely, thank you. Moving on now to the new helipad. How will emergency patients get from the new helipad to A&E quickly? Paul, would you like to take that one, or Peter?
Happy to pick that up while I have the microphone. So the helipad that we've got on site at the moment, and many people probably won't realise this, not many patients that land at the QE end up coming into the QE. In fact, very, very small amounts of those patients, because we're not a trauma centre. We're not that level of specialist treatment that people might require if they're being transferred in an air ambulance. What we are is a really strategic point for crew transfer and patient transfer for ongoing care. The patients at the moment, when the helicopter lands on site, go into an ambulance and they're transferred into our A&E if that's the right place for them, or for ongoing care. We've worked really closely with all of the air ambulance coordinators and the ambulance service to make sure the decision we've made about placement of the helipad is right. We know that it will be placed across the road. The moment that a helicopter makes a decision where it's going to land, a land-based ambulance is always assigned to it, and that won't change. it just means the land-based ambulance will go over to the new landing pad. That's where the care really starts. Once you enter that ambulance, you are getting the critical care you need. You'll either be transferred across the road into the QE and our new A&E department, or you'll be transferred on for care. We know in the interim, until we knew the build, that the risk hasn't changed in the way we do that, and all of those authorities we're working with are really comfortable in the way we're going to handle that going forward.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. So with the new QEH opening in 2030, will the relationship with the North Cambs Hospital in Wisbech change? Who would like to take that? Alice, would that be you?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. So North Cambs is a really important part of some of the delivery of services. It's a really intriguing centre in lots of ways, because there are so many providers there. So we know that North West Anglia have some inpatient beds. We know that there's some radiology. By Peterborough, there is some a minor injury unit from the Cambridgeshire Peterborough Mental Health Trust. We know that there is Addenbrooke's too there, and we have some services there. So at this moment in time, we will continue to deliver those, and we will look to making sure that care is as close to home as it can be, being provided as safely as it can be. We will continue to work with Cambridge Community Trust, who own the site. We don't own the North Cambs site, so we will continue to work with them as we move forward.
Thank you. Moving on to the new hospital now. Will the new hospital be built to future-proof for a growing population, and will the car park be the same?
That's you, Paul.
I think hopefully I've picked up the multi-storey car park and car parking provision. Peter and the team have done some extensive work with the national team and the regional teams about something called patient and bed modelling. This demand and capacity modelling is quite a complex piece of work, but it takes into account not just local demographics, it takes into growth zones, it talks about what we think healthcare will look like as we move forward into the future. So what we're doing at the moment is we're modelling the hospital for when it opens. We're not modelling the hospital for as we deliver healthcare now. So what that does is help us future-proof the hospital for the moment it opens and the first 5 years that it's there. But we've been asked to go further than that. So the modelling that we've done takes us further to that. So we are always designing for any growth that we may see. Healthcare is changing by the moment with the introduction of new forms of treatment, as Alice said earlier about the length of stay, but new drugs coming through the system. None of us really know what AI will do to healthcare as we move forward as well. So it's all about how healthcare will be delivered in the future. We can predict so much and can work for that to make sure that we've got an adaptable space that we can transform if we need it, but also keeping one eye on what those new technologies are. Peter, do you think there's anything else you need to add around demand and capacity?
Not really. You know, as part of the business case process, we have to do an expansion strategy, and our initial one is to 2060. So, you know, 30 years post opening of the new hospital, and therefore we will be able to adapt the site to meet those demands for a long time going forward.
Thank you both. One quick one on the back of the car park issue there. Will the new car park be operated on a pay-as-you-exit rather than having to guess how long you will be in hospital before? I think that's right, isn't it, Paul? It's going to have an exit barrier.
Yes, it will. And I've just seen another question come in by Helen as well. So while I'm on around the spaces, yes, they will be better than we've got now. The car park is to be designed around a template called Hospital Car Park 2.0. Lots of research has gone into multi-storey car parks that feed hospitals about size of spaces, type of lighting, where the ramps are, accessibility, and how our new multi-storey car park will have to meet all of that criteria as we build it. So yes, Helen, those spaces will be better because cars are changing. Anybody that knows they are getting a little bit bigger and they're getting heavier because of the weight from electric vehicles.
Thank you. I've got another question here. Are you still able to exit at the rear of the hospital by the discharge lounge to get to the Macmillan Centre, or do you have to go via the West Wing? The access road is still available, I think I'm right in saying. Yeah. I'm getting some nodding of heads. That's great. Thank you. How do patients get involved in your participation events? Peter, would you like to take that?
Yeah, certainly can. I've still got my mic on as well. So we're and Laura, maybe you could have answered this, because Laura is our communications lead for the new hospital. So Laura will be developing or revising the engagement and communication strategy that we do. So we will be holding a number of events. We have an extensive relationship with the patient groups that are within the trust. And we have access to everybody has access to comments through our web portal, which I think Laura's just kindly put into the chat, so you can pick up on that. So we will, we're on site every single day. Well, sorry, during the week. We don't do Saturdays and Sundays, but we will be looking at the more different ways of how we engage, especially those groups that are really difficult to get to sometimes. So we are looking at the more technological ways of getting out to our patients. So there will be a number of ways, and we will be publishing that in the very near future.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Will the new car park be linked directly to the new hospital for easy access? Who wants that one?
So I'll take that one. Yes, with the access between the car park and the hospital will be to meet all the latest accessibility standards that we have to. As Alice often says, we built a hospital on the top of the only hill in Norfolk, and our car park at the bottom of it. Our buggy that runs between the two of their own is making that better. We don't want to make the same mistake again about access between our car park and our main buildings.
Lovely. Thank you, Paul. Someone's asked, when can we expect to see visuals of what the new building will look like?
So we will be coming out in the first quarter of next year with visuals, so with designs. But as soon as we've got those, and clearly we have an internal process where we need to sign them off with the clinicians and also with the trust board. So we will be coming out in the new year with some early visuals, but more detailed ones towards the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. As we have to, because we other than the consultation process, we're going to have to put a planning application in. So those need to have gone through a consultation process. So we appointed our design team following board approval last month. So they've now started to take all of our ideas and our aspirations, as I said before, along with the national designs for ward layouts and single rooms, and how a modern A&E should be developed. And we will be very soon have something to share with you.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Peter. We've got one here about the current entertainment system in our current hospital. So it says, out of interest for patients who spend some time at the new QEH on the ward, what entertainment system, oh no, sorry, it's about the new hospital. What entertainment system, so TV, radio, etc., will be available, given that the Hospidia system, which is what we currently use, will be stripped off and is expensive for patients?
So our new hospital will be what we call a smart hospital. So it will have the latest digital technology. We are currently evaluating what's the best entertainment, and that will be either through a subscription based, but we're also looking at how patients can bring in their own tablets and bring in their own phones and actually use what their accounts are to look at. And I'm not advertising, but Netflix is a very portable subscription that you have lots of people have at home, as well as Sky Go, and that can then project onto the TV within the room. So it will be patient choice, and we think that's probably a better way of delivering patient entertainment, because they can then choose what they bring in and what they do. And that goes for BBC, ITV as well, because they're all streaming services now. We will have significant Wi-Fi bandwidth within the hospital, and that will allow a significant amount of digital streaming, and that will form part of our business case when we put that in towards the May next year.
Thank you, Peter. I've had a question emailed to me from someone who was struggling to get into the Q&A section. So will there be more green and renewable power or heating solutions on site? Paul, I know this is your one of your great passions, so I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, we've got a fantastic opportunity when it comes to the use of green technology with the building that Peter and the team are working on. Within the team that Peter talked about, we've had some really very clever engineers involved that want to make our building. We have to be net zero carbon. Our target will be to net zero carbon. We like to create a hospital that is independent of external power sources. There is lots of opportunities as we move forward, and technology is changing all the time, which is really interesting. So yes, this will be a green hospital. We've got a member of the team who wants to make sure that our hospital is like an island when it comes to energy, and that we are able to sustain ourselves without any extra help from the grid. That's an aspiration that we've set ourselves to move forward. So yes, lots of exciting developments, I think, around green technology.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. One question in the chat: when will building work begin on the new multi-storey car park? Peter, I think you had that on one of your slides, but did you want to cover that one off?
Sorry, lost my mouse there. Certainly, we our final business case is due in early next year, so we're expecting to be in the ground in the first quarter of next year to start the car park, and it takes about a year to build. So well in time for when we need to start construction of our new QEH.
Lovely, thank you. Will the wind turbine need to be moved? I know there's been discussions around this. Peter, you happy to take that one?
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. So we need to do a feasibility. Clearly, building a large new hospital may well affect the turbulence and the wind strength. So we're currently working with an organisation called Ecotricity, who provide the wind turbine for us, to work out what's the best solution for us. So until that feasibility is done, we haven't made a decision of where of what we're actually going to do with it. But one of the options is to keep it where it is. It just might mean that it's less efficient, but we believe as a team, and I know the trust board do, it's iconic for our build, for the QEH. It kind of, everybody knows that they're near the hospital when they see it. So we will do our utmost. Sorry, I nearly swore it. Utmost to make sure that wind turbine is part of the new QEH.
Thank you. Another question coming on the helipad now. I know the helipad has been discussed, but will it be brought back onto site once the new building is complete?
So I'm happy to take that. That's another one of those questions where we're in those development talks with the Air Ambulance Trust and also both ambulance services, both East and EMAS, about where we need it. We want to make sure it's in the right place. Do we need it back on site? Do we need it on top of the hospital? Do we need it somewhere else on site? So we're going through that evaluation at the moment. We've got plenty of time to decide that. The main thing is to make sure that we've got a helipad in a sustainable area ready to keep the helipad open. As I talked about, it's a really strategic position for their ambulance service in Norfolk. So our first priority is to make sure it's right in its earliest form, and then make the right decision later.
Thank you, Paul. That's all the questions that we've had come through so far. So I'll hand back over to Alice. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, and what a brilliant set of questions there. I think it's every time we do a presentation, whether that be in person or as we have done this evening, it gives us something to really think about, and so your engagement, your participation is really important. Hopefully next time we come out, we'll do a series of road shows every so often, just to let you know what we're doing, because there's a lot of activity going on, and it doesn't show in the ground and it doesn't show outside, but we're doing all the preparation work and we want to keep you involved and engaged. But hopefully next time we come out, we'll be able to come out with the designs. Paul assures me, Paul and Peter, that there will be virtual tours that we'll be able to do and all sorts. So very much looking forward to those, and as probably my family would tell you, a bit of a digital dinosaur, it will be interesting to see how things go. Just on behalf of all of us, your opinions really do matter to us, and the care that we want to be able to deliver to you from now until 2030 and 2030 and beyond is really important. So a huge thank you. Hopefully we've given you a few moments back, but if you do need anything, you do have any thoughts afterwards, please do come back. I think Laura has just posted some feedback forms, so do let us know what it felt like to be on the receiving end of us. And normally we would wish you a safe and pleasant journey home, but hopefully you all are at home. So thank you very much for spending time this evening with us, and have a lovely evening. Take care. Goodbye.